Raj. So I will read three lines just to bring up to the speed and then we will continue. Karma generates four types of anarthas. Those generated by sinful activities, by pious activities, by offenses, and those generated by bhakti. All these things represent obstacle to our bhajan. So that's where we stop. Very, very important instructions that Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj is going to reveal to us. So be attentive. The anarthas generated by pious or sinful activities are classified in various ways: ignorance, false ego, attachment to something, aversion to something, fear of death. Avidya, ignorance, is the original problem of the living being. When the living being, which is a spiritual in nature, identified itself with this bag of flesh and blood, all this is the result of our past activities, whether sinful or pious. Offenses generate the most horrible anarthas. Ultimately, it is precisely our independent, capricious desire to do only what I want that is at the heart of committing offenses. If I'm driven by this desire, I begin committing offense to the Guru or the Vaishnavas because they are an obstacle to the realization of my independent desires. It's very difficult to surrender. My calm lust, as a result, I start considering them to be ordinary people. Finally, the anartha generated by bhakti are the desire for gain and the desire for honor and respect. These are also the result of kama. Sometimes people, being aware of this problem of kama, try to overcome it by applying additional effort in practicing renunciation, vairagya. They may fast a lot, or they may perform some extreme form of austerities. But actually, vairagya is not our practice. Those who practice vairagya as a means of achieving something in spiritual life are just torturing themselves, getting nothing but suffering. Rupa Goswami was a renounced man, but did he practice vairagya? No, he did not. For him, vairagya was not an end itself. For him, it was the natural state of his heart. Now, important instruction is coming. Attentive. The principle of renunciation, vairagya, begins with austerity. Austerity does not mean that the person is standing on one leg or fasting. Let us consider our attachment to food. Everyone, even modern scholars who study the human psychology, agree that the average person eats more than needed from physiological point of view. Why are we so attached to food? For enjoyment or greed? To get strength? No. As soon as we are born, we start eating milk. Since very childhood, even in those who have been raised on artificial milk, an inner psychological association between food and love take place in a person. Mother's milk is a manifestation of her love, and the baby sucks and sucks. Usually, a baby wants to suck beyond the need for food. The baby sucks for love. So, whenever we lack love, we start eating. There is a strong emotional or physiological association inside us that food means love. What we are looking for in life is not food. What we are looking for is love. When we have love, we do not need much food or sleep. What to speak of other things to satisfy our hearts. Thus, Vairagya appears in a natural way, and we do not need anything else because our needs are satisfied. So Raghunath Das Goswami would drink a glass of buttermilk every other day and was in a perfect health because he was getting energy from another source, from love of God. Hare Krishna. So I think his same point is hitting in the morning also, why we are becoming sick because of our no faith in Krishna. In Braj, there is no hospitals in Goloka Vrindavan because nobody gets sick. In material world, we have to take medicines, go to the doctors, go to the hospitals, because we have placed our faith somewhere else. And really, I end up to Guru Govinda Swami Maharaj, that he has awakened my heart. Just depend on Krishna. And we read that Aswathama was sending the Brahmastra to kill Parikshit Maharaj. But if Krishna doesn't want to kill, nobody can kill us. But I'm not saying because sometimes, I don't want to impose on anybody. But my faith is getting stronger and stronger, not to take any allopathy medicine or visit the doctor or go to the hospital. Completely dependent on Krishna. Like I used to go for that, as I was saying, blood test. And I think I'm going to stop going for any other test. I think it's already 16 months, 14 to 16, that I have not taken blood test. Simply chant Hare Krishna. That's what Guru Govinda Swami Maharaj, when I read this Shuddha Nam book, Maharaj clearly indicate that any disease come due to only one problem, that we have turned away from Krishna. So this is something to dwell on it. Why we are becoming sick. There should be no need to become sick. So let's continue with this wonderful Srila Prabhupada also in his life. I remember that day when Prabhupada becomes sick, they went take him to the hospital, and Prabhupada called Tamal Krishna Maharaj and he said, "Get me out." And we see how peacefully he lived his world in Vrindavan, in his room. Guru Govinda Swami Maharaj, he left his world. If you look at the body of Guru Govinda Swami Maharaj, it's so heavy. And I think that if Maharaj has gone for any test, definitely they will say, "Oh, you have a heart, cholesterol, you have this and that." But Guru Govinda Swami Maharaj didn't take any shelter. He followed what he preached. And how he left his body? Discussing Srimad Bhagavatam with his intimate associates who were fortunate to have his association. So nice to see the exemplary life. And the point I was trying to make, really, that when we read these great personalities' life, how we will say that they have been merciful? Only when we will follow in their footsteps. And that's what I'm trying to do, humble servant, in particularly in this regard, to His Holiness Guru Govinda Swami Maharaj, that have complete faith in Krishna. We have to leave this world any day. Some organ has to be failed to leave this world. May Krishna fulfill my desire. It was 7 p.m. Srila Prabhupada entered the temple, dressed in a saffron dhoti, an old turtleneck jersey under a cardigan sweater, and a chadar around his shoulder. Walking to the dais in the rear of the room, he took his seat. The dais, a cushion atop a redwood plank 2 feet off the floor, was supported between two redwood columns. In front of the dais stood a cloth-covered lantern with a bucket of cut flowers on either side. Covering the wall behind the dais was a typical Indian madras with Haridas' crude painting of Lord Chaitanya, a kirtan, hanging against it. Srila Prabhupada picked up his kartals, wrapped the cloth strap around his forefingers, and looked out at his young followers sitting cross-legged on the burgundy rug. How much detail! This is what is required. I was just telling all the devotees that we have to become so detail-oriented. And, I don't want to take a credit or anything, but just to give a simple example, just to make a point, not to show that I'm a great devotee. So don't think in that way. Otherwise, you will miss that point. But one time, His Grace Burijan Prabhu visited Houston. And I have shared this story, but I would like to repeat for the benefit of those who has not heard yet. So, Burijan Prabhu carried Srila Prabhupada, deity. And the box Burijan Prabhu was carrying Srila Prabhupada was getting old, rotten, cracked. So he called me. He said, Shyam Sundar Prabhu. And whenever Maharaj call me Prabhu, I always tell them that I'm a Das, Anudas. Don't say Prabhu. But Burijan Prabhu was going to respect like that. And then Prabhuji says that, I feel Prabhupada is not getting a good carrying box. Would you be able to help me in this regard? And I said, Burijan Prabhu, you have to tell me exactly how Prabhupada will be happy. What is needed? Actually, you have to explain me. And then Burijan Prabhu says, you look for the different kind of jewelry box, big one, small one. And then Burijan Prabhu was kind enough to give the Prabhupada deity to me. And he said, you take it and just see that it can fit very well. So first I got the jewelry box. And then I was start thinking that still the when they travel, it will shake. Prabhupada body will touch with the boxes. So then I went to the store and I bought this cushion like a sponge, a very nice one. And then I cut because I did engineering, molding, carpentry, everything. So I have little bit instinct that if I curve Prabhupada body slowly and slowly, I'll put the body of Prabhupada and I'll see where it is touching until it sits firmly into the foam. So I keep on working very patiently. And then I was satisfied that now Prabhupada will be nicely moved. When I went to sleep that day, the thought came, but this is a sponge. Prabhupada body will turn to sponge? No. So next day I went to the fabric store. I bought the fabric. And first where this dent, that where Prabhupada body goes in, I put the fabric down. So it's very comfortable. And then I cover it up all sides. And when I give it to Gurujan Prabhu, he washed. And then I give at that moment. And Gurujan Prabhu was so happy that Shamsundar Prabhu, you have really made it so nice that even I was thinking. But then next night I was just thinking that I should give some extra seats so Gurujan Prabhu can replace those seats because we don't want to have Prabhupada's sleep in the same chadar. So I bought some of those extra seats and pillows. And Gurujan Prabhu's heart was melted. And I have very loving relationship with Gurujan Prabhu. So what is there? Anybody can do that service, but we have to go in detail. And when I see the devotees on the Zoom call, I humbly request, just look around, scroll it down one time, what is the highest number, and put the number in the front, do me a favor. Still they cannot do it. There are duplicate numbers you can see on the screen. How are we going to concentrate on the holy name if we cannot maintain the detailed mode? And I told today I request that whoever doesn't want to follow, that's okay. Just send me the message. My number is +1 713 459 4327. And I will post it on the chat box. So you can send me a message that Prabhu, I don't want to do it. That's fine. Then I will understand. I will never bother you. But at least do. Respond. This is the thing is required in the life. So let's continue reading this wonderful Srila Prabhupada life. The bulbs hanging from the ceiling diffused their light through Japanese paper lanterns and Navajo, God's eye, symbols dangled from strings. Prabhupada began the ringing 1, 2, 3 rhythm, and Shyamsundar began pumping the harmonium. Although the harmonium was a simple instrument, a miniature piano keyboard to be played with the right hand and a bellows to be bumped with the left hand, no one in the Fabric Street storefront knew how to play it. So it became simply the drone. Another important kirtan instrument, the two-headed mridanga from India, was meant for intricate rhythmic accompaniments. But even Mukunda could play it only very simply, matching the 1, 2, 3 of Prabhupada's kartals. There were other instruments on hand, a kettle drum, in parenthesis, the pride of the temple, parenthesis over comma. Hayagriva's old cornet, a few conchs out, and a horn Hayagriva had made by selecting a piece of kelp he had found on the beach. Some guest has brought their own flutes, pipes, and bongos. But for now, they let their instrument remain still and clapped to Prabhupada's rhythm as he sang the evening prayers. Prabhupada's Sanskrit hymn praised the Vaishnava spiritual masters. For each great devotee in the disciplic succession, he sang a specific prayer. First, he chanted the poetic description of the transcendental qualities of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, then Gaurkishore Das Babaji, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, one after another. One prayer describes Srila Bhakti Siddhanta as the deliverer of the fallen souls, and another praised Gaurkishore Das Babaji as renunciation personified, always merged in the feeling of separation and intense love for Krishna. Srila Prabhupada sang of Lord Chaitanya, the golden complexioned Supreme Personality of Godhead, who distributed pure love of Krishna. And he sang of Lord Krishna, the ocean of mercy, the friend of the distressed, and the source of creation. As Prabhupada became absorbed in the kirtan, his body trembled with ecstatic emotion. The group on the floor sat swaying from side to side, watching him, his eyes closed in meditation, his delicate, practical fingers expertly playing the kartals. They heard the heartfelt minor moods and tones of his voice, unlike anything they had heard before. Then Prabhupada began the familiar mantra they had come to hear. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And immediately they joined him. The horns and drums sounded, and soon all the other instrument players joined in. Gradually, a few at a time members of the audience rose to their feet and began to dance. Prabhupada's followers stood and began stepping from side to side as he had shown them, sometimes raising their hands in the air. Others moved as they pleased, occasionally opening his eyes and glancing around. Prabhupada sat firmly, chanting, though his head and body were trembling. After 20 minutes, many of the young dancers were leaping, jumping, and perspiring as Prabhupada continued to sing, leading the dancer by the beat of his kartals. His eyes were closed, yet he controlled the entire wild congregation, playing his kartal loudly. The chanting and dancing continued, and Prabhupada approved. The kirtan of these hippies were different from the chanting of the Indian brahmanas, but Prabhupada didn't mind. His standard was devotion. In his Radha Krishna temple, wherever he accepted, Krishna accepted. This was his offering to Krishna through his spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Prabhupada was absolutely confident. Even if his young devotees didn't know how to play the harmonium keyboard or the mridanga, even if they didn't know that congregational kirtan should be done not in constant unison as they were doing, but responsively. And even if they didn't know how to honor the Guru, still, because they were chanting and dancing, he encouraged them and nodded to them, yes. While elements were there, of course, people whose mind and intentions were far away in some chemically induced fantasy. Yet the mood was dominated by Prabhupada's followers, who danced with arms upraised and watched the leader carefully. Although in many ways they were still like hippies, they were Swami's disciples, and they wanted to please him and follow his instructions. They wanted to attain Krishna consciousness. For all the varied punctuation of horns and timpani, the kirtan remained sweet. Hayagriva even played his cornet in tune, and only during every other mantras. Srila Prabhupada knew that some aspect of the kirtan were wrong or below standard. He simply wanted these American boys and girls to chant. That they dress irregularly, jump too shabbily, or had the wrong philosophy did not over-concern him. These boys and girls were chanting Hare Krishna, so at least for the present, they were pure. The hippies knew that too, and they loved it. Just as in Janki's dream, Srila Prabhupada's pleasure was to see the whole world engage in kirtan. Somehow or other, he would say, people should be engaged in Krishna consciousness. And this was the instructions of Lord Chaitanya's chief follower, Rupa Goswami, who had written, Tasmat kenapi upayena manaha Krishna niveshyayat. Somehow or other, fix the mind on Krishna. The rule and regulations can come later. Inherent in this attitude of Srila Prabhupada's and Srila Rupa Goswami's was a strong conviction about the purifying force of the holy name. If engaged in chanting Hare Krishna, even the most fallen person could gradually become a saintly devotee. Srila Prabhupada would often quote a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, affirming that person addicted to sinful act could be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord. He knew that every height aspiring hippie was eligible to receive the mercy of the holy name. And he saw it as his duty to his spiritual master to distribute the gift of Krishna consciousness freely, rejecting no one. Yet, while living amongst these mlechas, he required a certain standard of behavior, and he was adamant about preserving the purity of his Krishna conscious society. For example, if he were going to distribute free food to the public, it could not be ordinary food, but must be prasada, food offered to Krishna. Feeding hungry people was futile unless they were given prasadam and the chance of liberation from birth and death. And although in the kirtan he allowed openness and free expression and welcomed the wildest participation. The transcendental sound of the holy name had to dominate. When we chant, we should hear so profoundly the holy name. That's the way we will be able to concentrate. And when we hear it properly, if you are making mistake, it will come very nicely to our attention. As you know, Gopal Govind Prabhu, when I said couple of times, I corrected that, hey, you made a mistake, you made a mistake. Then he became attentive. And 5 times I remember, I recall, that he started when he finished Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. He said like that. But then he realized that, no, I have to take breath in. That's attentiveness. We have to go in much, much more detail because you want to place the divine couple, Radha and Krishna. So, transcendental sound of the holy name had to be dominant. He never allowed the kirtan to degenerate into mere beating on drums or chanting of any old words. I remember one time, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj in 90s, I think, he came and he was saying that all these ISKCON devotees are being ducked. Our hearing gets so weak now, I cannot catch all this word now. Because we hit the drum and karta so heavily that destroying our hearing process. And Maharaj had the instrument. He saw me because I was the temple president at that time. Maharaj said, look at that, it is 120 dB or something, this decimal point. It should be 30 or 40 only. And then when Maharaj was there, he was leading the kirtan and he was playing so sharp kartal. Let's holy name be prominent, not the kartal and drums. But what can be done? These great personalities come and instruct us, but it's up to us how much we want to accept those instructions. And lately my realization is sing in the lower active. When you sing in the lower active, it's so soothing to your heart. The word will come from your heart. Only expert person who has practiced for many, many years, they can sing in the lower active. And it's so beautiful. I forgot to record my village man, and they were calling on the state radio to sing these bhajans in a lower active and in so many different alap, different ragas. It's so melodious. And I still remember in our Gujarat, the radio station were playing even the music, and it's so soothing in the morning. We need to have positive vibration in the morning. Everything should be soothing to our mind and heart, but we like everything punching and heavy music. All these devotees sings in a high pitch. Hare Krishna. For example, if you were going to distribute people, we read that. And transcendental sound of the holy name had to dominate. He never allowed the kirtan to degenerate into more beating on drums or chanting of any old words, nor could anyone in the group become so crazy that other wouldn't be able to hear or take part in congregational chanting. How important this message is. I have seen sometime I have to correct the devotees. that when we were chanting in the temple room, somebody, they will shake their head like this and making loud chanting. They don't care about the person who's sitting next to them. And then when I see that this is really destructive, I used to go and I apologize that Prabhuji, please tone down. And if your habit is to chant loudly, please go to the temple ground and chant as loud as you want. We have to be considerate. We cannot destroy someone's bhajans. Let them have the opportunity to concentrate on their hearing the holy name. Another thing I'm watching on this group, that devotees are joining. When I call their name, I have to loudly say, then why we join in this japa session if you are not gonna hear the devotees chanting? That's the whole purpose. So I don't know what good it does that live 20 feet away and chant in seclusion. If that's the case, then just remain in seclusion, What can I say? But this is what it is. In his attempt to somehow or other, what time we went, somebody should correct me, We should be punctual in our practices today. We missed by 8 minutes. I'm extremely sorry. So with the start, before the devotee leaves, I would like to offer my humble obeisances at the desk of these wonderful Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Vanchukalpataruhasya kripashabhyapacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you very much for taking hardship to get up from